Well, in the last episode of History Traveler, we were here in Saipan at the Eslido airfield, which in the early days of the Battle of Saipan was taken from the Japanese by the 4th Marine Division and the 27th Infantry Division. Well, after the airfield was secured, General Holland Smith tasked the 27th Infantry Division with sending one element to the south to clear out a pocket that was formed on a peninsula, and also to move north to clear out a place that was going to become known as Death Valley. On D+7, the assault on the central rugged highlands of Saipan began. What this was going to involve was the 2nd Marines, or the 2nd Marine Division rather, moving up the western side of the island, kind of heading towards Mt Tapochau, and the 27th Infantry Division was supposed to take this central portion, kind of like the eastern part of Mt Tapochau, and also a valley that ran through the middle of it with a ridge on the right-hand side. So the 106th Infantry Regiment was supposed to take the eastern part of Mt Tapochau, and the 165th Infantry Regiment was going to go up the valley and the other ridge. All right, now you might have to extend a little bit of grace towards me on this one. I'm really limited on where I can go and what I can show in this area. So there's an area that's known as Hell's Pocket at the mouth of Death Valley that I just can't get to because it's on private property. But if you look right here, just look at where we are in relation to where the Japanese were up on Mt Tapochau. And then there's, if you can see, it looks like there's kind of a ridge down below the summit. This whole thing was lined with caves, and this was like a meat grinder that guys were just getting thrown into. And the commanding general of the 27th kept protesting, and Holland Smith, who was his superior, kept berating the army and saying that these guys wouldn't fight, and it was just a big old mess. All right, I think that I may have found a spot here along Death Valley that might kind of illustrate just the difficulty of this terrain. Now, what we are looking at right now is the western facing slope of Purple Heart Ridge. Okay, so you have Death Valley in the middle, you have Purple Heart Ridge to the right or to the east, and then you would have had Mt Tapochau to our left. So this is the direction that the 27th is heading in. They're also having to move along this ridge. Notice it's not a continuous ridge. Okay, there were 7 different hill features that they had to take. And then, if we move back here, Purple Heart Ridge is what they have on their right. And this is what they have on their left. And I don't know if my camera can really do justice to what a bowl we are in right now. If I was one of these 27th Division guys, I don't know how I would have felt about being thrust into this valley. I mean, it just looks like it would be a shooting gallery. And there were a lot of guys that got chewed up. So you can see that cliff face there. I mean, it's high ground on both sides. All right, so I have now moved north through what is known as the Valley of Death and Purple Heart Ridge. Now, Purple Heart Ridge is not just one continuous ridge like a plateau or anything. It's a series of 7, in some cases, very steep hills and knobs that make up this continuous spine that runs in a north-south direction. So if you look right here, right above the mobile sign, this is the northernmost part. And boy, the humidity is crazy here. We got a little haze going on. But that is Hill Able. So like I said, Purple Heart Ridge is 7 different unique terrain features that each had their own code name. But let me just walk down here. Oh, just kind of hang with me for a second. If you come down here, let me scoot across. Had a guy who was trying to run me over. But if you come over here, so here we got like the bottom part really of Hill Able. If we go through some of this modern stuff, well, you can really kind of see into this valley. Now look at that. Look at how steep that is on either side. And imagine having to do a run up the middle with Japanese on both sides of that valley. They didn't call this thing Death Valley for nothing. Now, because of the difficulties that the 27th was having right here in this valley, it was kind of holding up the progress of the 2nd Marine Division and the 4th Marine Division, who were on either side of them. And Holland Smith was just fuming about this. I mean, they didn't call him Howlin' Mad Smith for anything. So he ended up relieving Ralph Smith, General Ralph Smith, who was the commander of the 27th Infantry Division. This ended up causing a big old stink because here you have a Marine general who is relieving an Army general, so there's this inter-service rivalry that was going on. But anyway, Ralph Smith took it like a true professional and helped his replacement as he was moving in, and the fight continued right here up into Death Valley. So now we're gonna move and drive to the top of Mt Tapochau. I don't feel good about everything that I've shown here. I don't think I've, shown it with as much clarity as I wish that I could have. So we're gonna go to the top of the mountain and see if we can get a look at things from the top down. Ooh, I'm making my way up to the summit of Mt Tapochau, and just wanted to stop here real quick. Look at this nonsense. Like, look at the terrain that we are dealing with here on Saipan. And then imagine those guys from the 8th Marine Regiment who are having to fight and claw their way up here. Not just hiking, but with all kinds of gear that they're packing and their weapon, people shooting at them. Dang. Whether it's in combat or Star Wars or whatever, well, the general rule is you always want to take the high ground. Take the high ground or the high ground will take you, I think is how the saying goes. And dang, once you get up here, you can definitely see why this was highly coveted ground by both the Japanese and the Americans. I mean, you can see everything from here. Seriously, just look at this. This view is really helping to give me a better understanding of the battle. Okay, so if you look off in the distance there, well, those are our landing beaches where the 2nd and 4th Marine Divisions landed. Okay, and then they moved inland. You can really see the terrain features from up here so much better. But then we talked about how they moved over to Aslito Airfield. That was in the last episode. There is the peninsula that there was a pocket of Japanese that elements of the 27th Division had to clear out. And I think from up here, we can get a little bit better look at Death Valley. Okay, so yeah, right here, if you look, let me zoom in a little bit here. There is the mouth of Death Valley. Okay, so here on this side, on our right, that was the ridgeline to their left that was giving them so many problems. And then we can see Purple Heart Ridge there in the distance. Okay, so there's the hill that was codenamed Love Hill, and then X-Ray Charlie, okay, and then Hill Victor and Oboe and Hill King, and I don't think we can't really see Hill Abel from right here. But yeah, there is Death Valley and Purple Heart Ridge. All right, looks like we might have a little bit of weather rolling in. I'm starting to feel some raindrops, so we're going to kind of wrap things up here. But before we do, I think that we would be remiss if we didn't give credit to the 8th Marine Regiment, who after 10 days of hard fighting and going up cliffs and hills and fighting the Japanese in fortified positions, made it up to the top of Mt Tapochau. Just being up here, this has to be one of the most formidable terrain features ever taken in World War II. Like this is absolutely stunning to me. But after Purple Heart Ridge and after Death Valley and Hell's Pocket and Mt Tapochau, there was still half an island that still needed to be taken. And we'll be covering some of those stories in the next few episodes. We are constantly exploring new places on this channel, so if you found value in the content that you've seen so far, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can see all of the new content when it comes out. You can also support this channel by supporting our partners at the Gettysburg Museum of History and by becoming a patron on our Patreon page.